If Yahweh did not require us to change, would we ever really change? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4 of Acharei Mot. And we go in today to chapter number 18. Before we do so, however, let's take a peek at Acts chapter 15, verses 28 and 29. Here we read about the Goyim, or the Gentiles, who have accepted Yeshua as the Messiah and now are desirous to come to the local synagogue that they might receive teachings of Moshe on Shabbat from the Torah portion. Before being allowed to do so, however, they are given some commands from the Noahide laws, particularly that they would abstain from idolatry, the worship of idols, that they would abstain from consuming blood, that they would abstain from eating meat from strangled animals, and that they would be sexually moral, that they would abstain from whoring. Now, where do these particular commands come from? From Acharei Mot, Leviticus, or Vayikra, chapters number 17 and 18. In Vayikra, chapter number 17, verse number 7, there is a requirement that you abstain from idolatry. In verse 10, there is a requirement that you abstain from eating or consuming blood. And verse 11, the life of the animal is in its blood. Strangling an animal causes the meat to retain the blood so that one may consume blood as you digest the meat. That was the purpose. That is prohibited. And now we come to chapter 18, which shows us that there are a long list of relationships that are forbidden to us. Specifically, they are referred to as uncovering one's nakedness. What is this all about? Well, as chapter number 17 teaches us about the propriety of the altar and approaching our Creator through sacrifices, chapter number 18 talks about being set apart and walking pure before the eyes of our Creator. That is, that we may approach Him with a pure heart. This tells us that as much as Yah is concerned about how blood is shed and then collected and then facilitated at His altar, He is also concerned about how you and I walk relationally with those that are around us. So we read such commands of not uncovering the nakedness of a variety of family members or kinfolk. Now you and I would say, "Ooh, I don't want to do that." Well, thankfully, that may be the very case. However, in some cultures and among some nations, this was a practice that was not only accepted, but also encouraged. Let's remember that these same people who were given these commands had spent their lives in Mitzrayim, Egypt, which was a very debauched, lewd, and corrupted people. They'd seen and been exposed to all kinds of cultural junk stuff, things that we would think quite abnormal and unthinkable, but for them it very well may have been the norm. Now Israel is being given clear-cut commands as to who is available as a proper mate or marriage partner and who is not. The reference is to uncover or not uncover one's nakedness. Now, thankfully, here in our land, in America, even in exile, to some degree at least, there is some sense of shame and impropriety to being totally uncovered in public. Now, all one has to do is venture out during the summertime. As the heat goes up, the clothes come off, and that's pretty well the way it is. But there is still a sense of decency and propriety, at least to some degree, some and more in some places than in others. While I would never want to unclothe someone in public, especially a kin person, I may do so with my words. Unfortunately, we have a bad habit of discussing things publicly and among other ears about family members and their weaknesses, their failures, their unique lives. We will laugh about events that took place perhaps even many years ago, and then realize we've just embarrassed someone because what we related was something that they would have preferred to have kept privately. Something that the story, we may laugh at it, but they may not laugh with us, is what I'm trying to say. And so while I would never unrobe or disrobe someone, unintentionally, I may do that with my choice of conversation or disclosing facts that should have never been disclosed. Well, it's just family. That doesn't matter. We need to be discreet. One of the wisest things of counsel that a pastor gave me prior to Laura and I getting married was, that which is private, keep it private. And I remember that very, very many times when things were being shared among men at work, and that word would come to my mind: whatever is private, keep it private. Once that which is private is shared, is now public. Therein we come to the principle of chapter number 18. Yah says, I'm set apart, and therefore you must be set apart. What does this mean? It means that we are not common. By being a set apart people, we are not a common people. Set apart equals more about private, and common would equal more about public. So we observe our feast days. We keep Shabbat on the seventh day. We use a particular phrasing and pronunciation when we refer to our Creator and to our Elohim. We wear certain things. We don't wear certain things. We have changed our diet. We've changed our mode of lifestyle, our focus of being, our world perspective. We take the whole set of scriptures and try to live by them and not by a select few. We've changed our lives. We're no longer who we were. Now, this is not to say that those who practice their belief and yet do not walk as we do, that they're just common and ordinary folk. No, in their own way and to their own degree, they have set themselves apart. And we're not among those, perhaps, that have gone to extreme measures of total isolation, of asceticism. We're trying to find that righteous, acceptable middle ground, acceptable in the eyes of Yah, not in the eyes of men. This takes a great deal of prayer, of honest looking at the scriptures and seeing what they say to us. It would benefit us to cast our ideas and our questions off of one another, to have open and honest conversation, not fierce debate and arguments. I am very thankful that I have close friends, men that I can trust, men that I have confidence in their walk, and men that I know will give me an honest opinion and a prayerful consideration, that I can call them up, write to them, and say, here's what I'm thinking after what I've read. Tell me where I'm going wrong or what adjustments to my understanding that I need to make. And we may go round and round and back and forth for a period of time. But the desire is to come to some sense of balance and understanding. Too often in our day, we find that there are those who read a text and off they go. They're running wild, fast and free, as far as they can go, and trying to drag everyone along with them that they can, according to their new conclusion and their enlightened understanding. And too often, these things are out of balance. Yah wants us set apart, but he wants us in balance. To those that were coming into the synagogue brand new, having no real exposure to them, having been raised in a goyim culture, they were given a starting point. And having been willing to commit to these things, they were allowed to sit, to learn, to gain further understanding, piece by piece, part by part. Thank you, Father, for allowing us to have this same opportunity, not dumping it all on us at once, but teaching us, admonishing us, encouraging us as we go. And as we go, shalom to you. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. Until then, shalom indeed.